The whistle cuts through the gray morning. Sarah Landau freezes, her hand still clutching the piece of bread hidden in her coat pocket. Through the cracked window of the fourth-floor apartment, she sees them 20 German soldiers and Polish police, forming a cordon at the intersection of Naluki and Gęsia Street. A selection. Here, now. She has perhaps 3 minutes. 3 minutes to decide. The hidden cellar entrance is behind the loose floorboard in the kitchen, 15 steps away. She knows every step by heart. She has practiced. But Aunt Miriam is in the other room, too weak to run, too slow to hide. If Sarah goes to the cellar now, alone, she lives. If she tries to help Miriam down the narrow passage, they both might die. The whistle sounds again. Closer now. Building by building, they are coming. Sarah's breath clouds in the cold air. Her fingers tighten on the bread, 40 grams of black bread, bought this morning with her last zloty in the black market on Karmelika Street. Enough for 2 days, if she is careful. If she lives 2 more days, downstairs, she hears the first door splinter. German voices, shouting. A woman screams, then stops cut off like a snapped thread. Sarah's heart hammers against her ribs. She can still make it, still save herself. The loose floorboard creaks as she takes 1 step toward the kitchen, 1 step toward survival. Then Miriam calls out, her voice thin and papery, like dried leaves. Sarah, are they coming? Sarah closes her eyes. The bread in her pocket feels heavy as a stone. She thinks of her brother Daniel, taken in the great action last July. She thinks of her parents, gone the same week. She thinks of the meeting last night in the basement of the synagogue ruins, where young men and women with hard eyes spoke of resistance, of fighting back, of making the Nazis pay for every Jewish life. The boots are on the stairs now. 2nd floor. Any moment, they will reach the 3rd. Sarah opens her eyes. She looks at the kitchen door. She looks at the room where her aunt waits. She measures the distance. She calculates the odds. 3 minutes to choose. 3 minutes to decide what kind of person she will be when the war ends, if she survives to see it end. But to understand this moment, we must go back. Back to 5:15 that morning, when Sarah woke in the freezing darkness of the Warsaw Ghetto. Back to when the day began, and the choice was not yet made. Back to the hours that led her here, to this window, with German soldiers climbing the stairs and her aunt's voice calling her name. 5:15 in the morning, April 14th, 1943. Sarah Landau wakes to the sound of gunfire, not close, perhaps 6 blocks away, near the brushmaker's district. She lies still on the thin straw mattress, listening. 3 shots, a pause, 2 more, then silence. She waits, counting her heartbeats. When no more shots come, she exhales and sits up. The room is dark and bitter cold. April in Warsaw, but the winter won't release its grip. Sarah's breath makes ghosts in the air. She reaches for the coat she uses as a blanket, threadbare wool, 3 patches visible even in the dim light. Her fingers are stiff. It takes her 4 tries to button it. Aunt Miriam sleeps in the corner, wrapped in 2 blankets they cannot spare. She is 68 years old, though she looks 80. Sarah watches the faint rise and fall of her breathing, still alive. Another day. Sarah adds this to her list of small mercies. The list has grown very short. The apartment is 2 rooms on the 4th floor of a building on Novolopy Street. Before the war, this building housed 3 families, 12 people. Now it holds 47. Sarah shares this space with her aunt, 3 other women, and a family with 2 young children. The children sleep in shifts. So do the adults. At night, You can hear crying through the walls. During the day, the crying stops. Everyone learns to be quiet. Sarah moves to the window, careful to stay hidden behind the torn curtain. She looks down at Naolipi Street in the grey pre-dawn. Empty. The curfew doesn't lift until 6, but she sees shadows moving in doorways, others like her, waiting, planning, hungry. Today she must find food. The bread ration, 100 grams per person per week, ran out 3 days ago. Miriam's ration card was stolen last month. The official soup kitchen on Genzia Street closed in February. That leaves the black market. Sarah has 1 zloty left, hidden in the lining of her coat. 1 zloty to buy what she can and make it last. She knows the price of bread by heart. It changes daily, climbing higher each week. In January, 1 zloty bought 60 grams. In February, 40 grams. Last week, 30. This morning, if she is lucky and the supply is good, perhaps 40 grams again. Enough for 2 days, eaten slowly. Enough to keep Miriam alive a little longer. Sarah dresses in the dark. She wears everything she owns, 2 dresses, one over the other. The outer dress was her mother's, taken from the apartment after the deportation. It smells like her mother's soap, or she imagines it does. The inner dress is her own, from before the war, when she was a student at Warsaw University, when she studied French literature and dreamed of Paris. That girl is dead now. Sarah buried her somewhere between summer of 1942 and now. She ties her kerchief, checking in the broken mirror on the wall. Her face stares back, hollow cheeks, dark circles, chapped lips. She is 32 years old. She looks 50. She looks away. Before she leaves, Sarah kneels beside Miriam. She touches her aunt's forehead. Cool, not feverish. Another mercy. Typhus is spreading through the ghetto like fire through dry grass. Yesterday, the death cart collected 17 bodies from their building alone. Sarah whispers, "I'll bring bread." Miriam doesn't wake. At 5:45, Sarah slips out of the apartment. The hallway smells of decay and human waste. The building's toilet stopped working in March. People use buckets now, or the courtyard. She holds her breath and moves quickly to the stairs. On the 3rd floor landing, she passes a body. An old man curled against the wall. His eyes are open, staring at nothing. Dead sometime in the night. Sarah doesn't stop. Bodies in the hallways are common now. The burial society will collect him later, add him to the count. She steps around him and continues down. At the building's entrance, she pauses. She checks the street both ways. No patrols visible. No movement. The sky is beginning to lighten gray, turning to gray-blue. She has perhaps 15 minutes before the bread sellers appear on Carmelita Street. She must be there when they do. The bread goes quickly. Sarah pulls her coat tight, touches the zloty in the lining to make sure it's there, and steps into the ghetto morning. The streets of the Warsaw Ghetto are a labyrinth of walls. Sarah walks close to the buildings, staying in the shadows. The ghetto wall 10 feet high, topped with broken glass and barbed wire looms at every intersection. 3 years ago, the Nazis forced Warsaw's Jews into this square mile and sealed them in. Every street ends in brick. Every hope ends at the wall. She passes the remains of the great synagogue on Tłomaki Street. The Nazis destroyed it 2 years ago, dynamited it to rubble. Now it's a ghost, a shell, but people still pray there. Sarah sees a man in a torn coat, wrapped in a prayer shawl, swaying in the ruins. His voice carries faintly, the morning prayers, the Mode Ani. She doesn't stop. Naolipi Street is empty at this hour. The buildings stand like tombstones, windows broken, walls pockmarked with bullet holes. Before the Great Action, these buildings were full. Now, 3/4 stand empty. The population was 450,000. Now it's 60,000, maybe less. The math is simple. The math is unbearable. Sarah turns onto Carmelita Street. This is the main commercial artery of what remains. Before the war, this street had shops, cafes, bookstores. Sarah bought poetry here. Baudelaire, Rimbaud. She remembers the smell of fresh bread from the bakery on the corner. Now that bakery is rubble. Now the bread comes from holes in walls, sold by men with hard eyes who trade in desperation. She is not alone now. Others are emerging from doorways, moving toward the same destination, an old woman in a tattered shawl, a teenage boy with a too large coat. A mother carrying a child who doesn't cry, bad sign, Sarah knows. Children who don't cry are children too weak to cry. They walk in silence, eyes down, each alone with their hunger. A checkpoint appears ahead, a German soldier and 2 Polish blue police at the intersection of Carmelita and Nowolipki. Sarah's stomach clenches. She keeps walking, steady pace, not too fast. Never run. Running draws attention. She reaches into her pocket and finds the false work permit, stamped with the seal of the Tubbins garment factory. The permit is a forgery, bought 3 months ago for 200 zlotys. It's the only thing between her and deportation. The German soldier barely glances at her. The blue police Polish collaborators are more dangerous. They know the neighborhood, know the faces. One of them, a man with a red beard, looks at Sarah too long. She keeps her eyes down, holds out the permit. He takes it, studies her face. Sarah's heart pounds. She thinks, run, hide, fight. She thinks, not today, please not today. Redbeard hands back the permit. He says something in Polish, a crude remark about Jewish women. His partner laughs. Sarah takes the permit and walks on, her face burning. Behind her, she hears them stop the old woman. She doesn't look back. You never look back. The black market operates in the courtyard behind number 48 Carmelita Street. Sarah arrives at 6:03. Already, 15 people are crowded around the entrance to the cellar, where the bread seller conducts his business. More arrive every minute. The crowd presses close. Body heat and desperate breath create a fog in the cold air. The bread seller appears at 6:10. His name is Jankiel. He is 19 years old and looks 40. He smuggles bread through the sewers from the Aryan side, the Polish side of the wall. He risks his life to do this. He also charges prices that mean people must choose bread today or bread tomorrow. There is never enough money for both. Jankiel holds up 2 loaves. Black bread, hard as wood. The crowd surges forward. Sarah is pushed from behind, nearly knocked down. An elbow catches her ribs. She pushes back, harder than she knew she could. She reaches the front of the crowd. She holds up her zloty. 40 grams, Jankiel says. His voice is flat, empty of feeling. 40 grams. Sarah calculates quickly. 20 grams for her, 20 for Miriam. 1 day's worth, maybe 2, if they eat carefully. She nods. She hands over the zloty. Jankiel cuts the bread with a knife, weighing it on a small scale. He hands her a piece, wrapped in paper. Sarah clutches it like a sacred object. She turns to leave. Then she sees them. 2 German soldiers entering the courtyard. The crowd scatters. Sarah runs. She doesn't think. She moves. The bread is in her coat, her hand over it, protecting it. Behind her, she hears shouting German words, harsh and clipped, a gunshot. She doesn't look back. She rounds the corner onto Nowolipki Street and presses herself into a doorway. Her lungs burn. Her heart feels like it will tear through her chest. She waits. Counts to 100. No more shots. No boots pursuing. She survived. The bread is safe. She allows herself one moment of relief before the guilt comes. Someone else didn't run fast enough. Someone else is lying in that courtyard now. She knows this. She has seen it before. She will see it again. The journey back to Nowolipki Street takes 12 minutes. Sarah moves carefully now, watching for patrols. She passes a children's corner, a group of orphans huddled against a wall, their faces gray with hunger. A boy, maybe 7 years old, holds out his hand. Sarah looks away. She has nothing to give. She has already learned to walk past outstretched hands. This is what the ghetto teaches, how to become hard, how to survive. She reaches her building at 6:35. She climbs the 4 flights of stairs, her legs shaking with exhaustion. In the apartment, Miriam is awake, sitting up. She sees Sarah, and her face softens. "You found something?" Sarah unwraps the bread. She tears it carefully into 2 pieces, not quite even. Miriam's piece is slightly larger. Sarah places it in her aunt's hands. Miriam begins to cry. Not much. Just tears on her hollow cheeks. "Eat," Sarah says. "Slowly. Make it last." They eat in silence. The bread is hard, sour, full of sawdust and grit. It is the most delicious thing Sarah has ever tasted. She takes small bites, chewing slowly, trying to make her piece last forever. It is gone in 3 minutes. Her stomach still howls with hunger. It will howl all day. She is used to this. At 7:30, there is a quiet knock at the door. 3 taps, pause, 2 taps. The signal. Sarah answers. It's Rachel from downstairs. She is 24 years old, small and fierce, with short dark hair and eyes that never rest. "Tonight," Rachel whispers. 8 o'clock, the usual place. Sarah nods. "I'll be there." Rachel disappears. Sarah closes the door. Miriam watches her with knowing eyes. "What are you doing, Sarah?" Sarah doesn't answer immediately. She sits beside her aunt, takes her hand. The hand is thin, bones like bird wings. "I'm making a choice," she says finally. "I'm deciding what kind of person I'll be when this is over." "And if it never ends?" Miriam asks. Her voice is gentle, not accusing. "Then I'll die fighting," Sarah says. Not waiting, Miriam squeezes her hand. She doesn't argue. There are no good arguments left. There is only the choice. Night falls over the ghetto like a lid closing on a coffin. Sarah waits until 8 o'clock, then slips out of the apartment. Miriam is asleep or pretending to be. Sarah doesn't say goodbye. Goodbyes are dangerous. They feel like endings. The meeting place is the cellar beneath the ruins of the synagogue on Miwa Street. To reach it, Sarah must cross 3 blocks of darkness. No street lights. The electricity was cut months ago. She moves by memory, by moonlight, by the faint glow of fires burning in empty buildings where people huddle for warmth. She passes 2 German patrols without incident. The first time, she hides in a doorway, barely breathing, as the soldiers walk past 20 feet away. The second time, she simply walks, acting like she has permission to be out past curfew. Confidence, she has learned, is armor. Fear is a target painted on your back. The synagogue ruins are black against the night sky. Sarah finds the entrance a gap in the collapsed wall, hidden behind rubble. She squeezes through, scraping her hands on brick. Inside, it is darker still. She navigates by touch, feeling along the wall until she finds the stairs leading down. In the cellar, 12 people are gathered. Sarah recognizes most of them. Rachel is here, of course, and David Landsberg, who was a teacher before the war, and young Mordecai, only 16, who lost his entire family in the Great Action. They sit on crates and broken furniture, lit by a single candle. Their faces are ghosts in the flickering light. Rachel speaks first. Her voice is low but clear. The ZOB, the Jewish Combat Organization, she pronounces it carefully. ZOB is ready. We have 49 pistols, 8 rifles, 350 hand grenades. Not enough, but it's what we have. David interjects. The Germans are planning another action. Maybe days, maybe hours. We have reports from inside the Judenrat, the Jewish Council, that deportations will resume. They're coming to finish what they started. Sarah listens. Her hands are folded in her lap, but inside she is calculating. 49 pistols against German divisions, hand grenades against tanks. The math is impossible. The math says they will all die. Mordecai speaks up, his voice cracking. So we die fighting. Better than the trains. Everyone knows about the trains now. The whispers became facts last summer when survivors escaped from Treblinka and brought back the truth. The showers aren't showers. The camps aren't work camps. They are death factories. The smoke from the chimneys is people. Rachel passes around a list. These are the bunkers. If the action starts, get to the nearest bunker. We'll fight from there. Building to building. Make them pay for every block. Sarah looks at the list. Bunker at 18 Miła Street. Bunker at 7 Franciscanska Street. Bunker beneath the brushmaker's workshop. Each bunker is a hidden cellar, stocked with what little food and water they could smuggle in. Each bunker is a tomb in waiting. What about civilians? Sarah asks. The ones who won't fight, the children, the old people. Rachel's face hardens. They hide. The bunkers have room, not much, but some. We'll hold the Germans off as long as we can. Give people time to hide. That's the best we can offer. David adds, the Polish Home Army, the AK, they've promised weapons. Maybe. We're waiting, but we can't wait much longer. The meeting continues for an hour. They discuss positions, tactics, supply routes. They discuss who will lead which unit, who will carry messages between bunkers. They discuss how to make Molotov cocktails from bottles and kerosene. They discuss dying slowly or dying quickly. These are the choices the ghetto offers now. When the meeting ends, Rachel pulls Sarah aside. You don't have to do this, she says. You have your aunt. No one would blame you for staying in hiding. Sarah shakes her head. If I hide and they take me, I die for nothing. If I fight and they kill me, I die for something. That's not much, but it's not nothing. Rachel embraces her quickly. 5 days, she whispers. Maybe less. When it starts, get to Miła Street. Bring your aunt if you can. We'll fight together. Sarah nods. She leaves the cellar and begins the journey back through the darkness. Above her, stars are visible through the broken roof. She hasn't seen stars in months. She stops and looks up. For a moment, she allows herself to imagine a world where stars mean hope instead of indifference. Then she continues home. Sarah wakes the next morning to silence. No gunfire, no screams. Just the ordinary quiet of a ghetto morning, which is to say, the quiet of people holding their breath. She checks on Miriam. Her aunt's fever has returned. Sarah touches her forehead hot, too hot. typhus. Sarah has seen it enough to recognize the signs, the fever that climbs, the weakness that spreads, the delirium that follows. Without medicine, Miriam has perhaps a week, maybe two. But medicine doesn't exist in the ghetto, not for civilians, not anymore. Sarah sits beside her aunt's mattress. She holds her hand. Miriam's eyes open, unfocused. Sarah, I'm here. Where is Daniel? Miriam asks. Daniel, Sarah's brother, taken last July, dead for 9 months. He's safe, Sarah lies. It's a mercy. The truth serves no purpose now. Miriam smiles faintly and closes her eyes. Sarah sits with her until she sleeps again. Then Sarah stands and walks to the window. She looks out at Nawalipi Street. The day is grey, cold, ordinary. But Sarah can feel it, the tension in the air, like the moment before thunder. Something is coming. Everyone knows it. She thinks about Rachel's words. 5 days, maybe less. She thinks about the bunkers on Miwa Street, the weapons hidden in cellars, the young people ready to fight. She thinks about her own choice. Stay with Miriam and wait for the Germans to come, or leave her aunt and join the resistance. Save herself or save her soul. It is not a fair choice. None of the choices are fair. At 10 o'clock, Sarah leaves the apartment. She tells herself she's going to find water. The building's pump is broken, and the nearest working pump is 3 blocks away on Gensia Street. This is true, but it's not the whole truth. She also needs to walk, to think, to see the ghetto one more time before everything changes. Gensia Street is crowded. People line up at the pump, waiting with buckets and pots. The line doesn't move quickly. Sarah joins the back, behind an old man with trembling hands and a young woman holding a sleeping child. No one speaks. Speech costs energy. Energy is precious. While Sarah waits, she sees a column of German soldiers marching down the center of the street. 20 men, rifles on their shoulders, marching in formation. At the front of the column, an officer on horseback. The civilians press against the buildings, making room, eyes down. Never look at them directly. The column passes. Sarah watches them go. She counts their weapons, rifles, pistols, grenades on their belts. She thinks about the ZOB's inventory. 49 pistols, 8 rifles. The math is impossible. The math says they will lose. But losing isn't the point anymore. The point is to fight. The point is to show the world and themselves that Jews did not go quietly into the night, that they resisted, that they chose, even when the choices were all terrible. Sarah reaches the pump at 10:40. She fills her bucket and begins the walk back. The water sloshes with each step. Her arms ache. She is so tired. She has been tired for 3 years. The kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. The kind of tired that lives in your bones. On the way back, she passes a courtyard where children are playing. 5 of them, maybe 6 years old, drawing in the dirt with sticks. They are playing a game Sarah can't tell what kind. Their voices are high and thin. One of them laughs. The sound is startling. Sarah has forgotten what children's laughter sounds like. She stops and watches them. One little girl, dark hair in braids, draws a flower in the dirt. Another girl adds a sun. They are drawing a world that doesn't exist. A world with flowers and sunshine and no walls. A woman, the children's teacher, notices Sarah watching. She walks over. They need to imagine something beautiful, she says, even if it's a lie. Sarah nods. She understands. Hope is a luxury, but imagination is free. The Germans can take everything else, but they can't take what lives inside children's heads. What will you do? Sarah asks. If the action comes? The teacher's face goes hard. There's a bunker beneath the orphanage. We'll hide them there. We'll keep them quiet. We'll pray. Sarah wants to say it will be enough. She wants to believe prayer can stop bullets. But she knows better. She carries her bucket home in silence. 2:00 in the afternoon, April 14th, 1943. Sarah is in the apartment, trying to feed Miriam broth made from potato peels and water. Miriam won't eat. The fever has climbed higher. She is drifting in and out of consciousness, speaking to people who aren't there. Sarah's mother, Sarah's father, people dead for a year, then the whistle. Sarah freezes. The spoon stops halfway to Miriam's lips. She knows that sound. Everyone in the ghetto knows that sound. It's the signal for a selection. Block by block, building by building, the Germans are coming. She stands and moves to the window. Below, at the intersection of Naluki and Gęsia, she sees the cordon forming. German soldiers, Polish blue police, perhaps 30 men. They are moving methodically, sealing off the block. No one gets out. Everyone gets checked. Work permits inspected. The young and healthy separated from the old and sick. The old and sick loaded onto trucks. The trucks drive to the Umschlagplatz, the transfer point. From there, the trains to Treblinka. Sarah has perhaps 3 minutes before they reach her building. She stands at the window, paralyzed. The choice she has avoided for weeks is here, now, immediate. The loose floorboard in the kitchen hides the entrance to a narrow cellar. 1 person can fit, maybe 2, if they don't breathe much. Rachel showed her this hiding place 2 months ago. It has saved lives before. But Miriam is in the other room. Miriam is too weak to stand, let alone climb down into a narrow hole. If Sarah goes to the cellar now, alone, she lives. If she tries to bring Miriam, they both might be caught. If she stays with Miriam, they both go to the trucks. The arithmetic is brutal. The arithmetic offers no mercy. Sarah looks at the kitchen. The floorboard is there, waiting. 3 steps away. She could be hidden in 15 seconds. She looks at Miriam, burning with fever, lost in her own past. Sarah thinks, she won't even know I'm gone. She thinks, I could survive. I could fight with Rachel. I could make my death mean something. She takes 1 step toward the kitchen. The floorboard creaks under her weight. It sounds like an accusation. Downstairs, the first door splinters. Boots on the stairs. German voices shouting, Raus, schnell, alle raus, out, quickly, everyone out. A woman screams. A child cries. The sounds echo up the stairwell like screams in a well. Sarah closes her eyes. She sees her brother Daniel's face. She sees her mother's hands. She sees her father teaching her to read when she was 6 years old. She sees the world before the walls, before the yellow stars, before the choices became impossible. She opens her eyes. She walks to Miriam's mattress. She kneels beside her aunt. She takes her hand. Miriam, she whispers, they're coming. I need you to wake up. Miriam's eyes flutter open, confused, distant. Sarah? Yes, it's me. We have to go. Where? Miriam asks. Sarah doesn't answer, because the truth is, nowhere. There is nowhere to go, but she can't say that. So instead, she helps Miriam sit up. She wraps a blanket around her shoulders. She puts her aunt's arm across her own shoulders and lifts. Miriam is light as paper, all bones and loose skin. Sarah half carries her to the door. Behind them, the apartment door bursts open. A German soldier fills the doorway. Young, maybe 20. blonde hair, blue eyes, the face of a propaganda poster. He looks at Sarah and Miriam. He raises his rifle. Papier, he says. Papers. Sarah holds out her work permit. The forged one, Tubman's factory. The soldier takes it, studies her face. He looks at Miriam, sagging against Sarah's shoulder. He doesn't ask for Miriam's papers. Miriam doesn't have papers. Miriam has nothing. The soldier hands back Sarah's permit. He gestures with his rifle toward the stairs. Runter, schnell, down, quickly. Sarah and Miriam descend, one step at a time. Miriam's weight grows heavier with each step. Or maybe Sarah is just growing weaker. On the second-floor landing, Sarah sees the old man from yesterday, the one who died in the night. His body is still there. No one has collected it. The soldier behind them kicks it aside without looking down. They reach the street. Sarah blinks in the daylight. Her eyes have adjusted to the dim apartment. The world feels too bright, too real. She sees the trucks parked at the corner. She sees the line of people, old, sick, children too young to work, the ones without permits, the ones without value. A Polish policeman with a red beard, the same one from the checkpoint yesterday, is sorting people into two groups. Left, work permits, young, healthy. Right, no permits, old, dying. Sarah and Miriam approach. Sarah holds out her permit. Redbeard looks at it, looks at her, looks at Miriam. She has a permit? She's my aunt, Sarah says. She works with me, at Tubman's. She doesn't look like she can work. She can. She's just sick. She'll recover. Redbeard laughs. It's not a cruel laugh. It's worse. It's indifferent. She goes right, he says. You go left. Sarah's hand tightens on Miriam's shoulder. Please, she's all I have left. Left or right, Redbeard says. Choose. Sarah looks at the two lines. Left, survival maybe. The chance to fight with Rachel. The chance to die with a weapon in her hand. Right, the trucks, the Umschlagplatz, the trains, the end. She looks at Miriam. Her aunt's eyes are open now, clear for the first moment in hours. She understands. She squeezes Sarah's hand. Go, Miriam whispers. Live. Fight. Remember us. Sarah feels her throat close. She can't speak, can't breathe. She looks at Redbeard. She looks at the lines. She looks at her aunt. She makes her choice. Sarah stands with Miriam in the right-hand line, the line for the trucks, the line for the end. She made her choice. She will not leave her aunt. She will not save herself by abandoning the last person she loves. If this is how she dies, then this is how she dies. But Redbeard is watching. He looks at Sarah's permit again. He looks at her hands, young hands, capable hands. He makes a calculation. Work permits are valuable. The factories need workers. The German war machine runs on Jewish slave labor. One more worker today means one more bullet manufactured, one more uniform sewn. You, he says, pointing at Sarah. Left. Now. Sarah doesn't move. I'm staying with her. Redbeard's face darkens. He raises his hand. For a moment, Sarah thinks he will shoot her. Instead, he grabs her arm and pulls. Hard. Sarah stumbles. Miriam loses her grip and nearly falls. A Polish policeman catches Miriam, holds her up. Left! Redbeard shouts, or I shoot you both right here. Sarah looks at Miriam. Her aunt is crying now, silently, tears on her hollow cheeks. She nods. Go. She mouths the word, go. Sarah is pulled into the left-hand line. She watches as Miriam is pushed toward the trucks. 20 people ahead of her, 15, 10. Sarah watches every step. She memorizes her aunt's face, the way she walks, the way she holds her head up, even now, even at the end. Miriam reaches the truck. Hands lift her up. She disappears into the darkness of the truck bed. The doors close. The truck drives away. Sarah stands in the left-hand line and watches it go. She doesn't cry. She has no tears left. She just watches until the truck turns the corner and vanishes from sight. The selection continues. More people sorted, more trucks filled. Sarah stands in the line for the living and feels like a ghost. Around her, others are weeping, shouting, trying to run. German soldiers shoot 2 people who try to break from the line. Their bodies lie in the street. No one moves to help them. No one can help them. At 3 o'clock, the selection ends. The survivors, perhaps 60 people, are counted and released. Sarah walks away in a daze. She doesn't remember leaving the line, doesn't remember walking. She just finds herself standing on Naulipi Street, outside her building. The street is empty now, silent, like nothing happened. She climbs the 4 flights of stairs. The apartment is exactly as they left it. Miriam's blankets on the mattress, the bowl of broth, cold now, on the floor. The room smells like fever and death. Sarah stands in the doorway. She doesn't enter. She can't enter. Instead, she sits on the landing outside. She pulls her knees to her chest. She tries to think, tries to feel, but there is nothing inside her now, just a hollow space where her aunt used to be, where her family used to be, where her life before the war used to be. Rachel finds her there an hour later. She sits beside Sarah without speaking. They sit together in silence. Finally, Rachel says, "I heard. I'm sorry." Sarah doesn't answer. What is there to say? Sorry doesn't bring anyone back. Sorry doesn't change anything. The trucks went to the Umschlagplatz, Rachel continues. Her voice is gentle. The trains left at 5. To Treblinka, Treblinka. Sarah knows what that means. The gas chambers disguised as showers. The bodies burned in pits. The smoke that rises and rises and never stops. Miriam is dead by now. Or dying. Either way, she is gone. What do we do? Sarah asks. Her voice sounds strange to her. Flat, empty. Rachel takes Sarah's hand. We fight. Like we planned. We make them pay for every single one of us. For Miriam, for Daniel, for all of them. Sarah looks at Rachel. Young, fierce Rachel with her short dark hair and her burning eyes. Sarah envies her certainty, her purpose. Sarah feels nothing but emptiness. But maybe emptiness is enough. Maybe emptiness can be filled with rage. Maybe rage can be turned into resistance. Maybe resistance is all they have left. When? Sarah asks. Soon, Rachel says. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe the day after. The Germans will come again, and when they do, we'll be ready. Sarah nods. She stands. She looks at the apartment one last time. Then she closes the door and follows Rachel down the stairs. The next 3 days pass in a blur of preparation. Sarah moves through them like a sleepwalker. She helps fortify the bunker on Miwa Street. She carries bags of sand to build barriers. She fills bottles with kerosene for Molotov cocktails. She learns to hold a pistol, a single-shot weapon, heavy and cold in her hands. Rachel shows her how to aim, how to breathe, how to squeeze the trigger instead of pulling. You probably won't hit anything, Rachel says, but it doesn't matter. The sound matters. The defiance matters. They need to hear Jews shooting back. Sarah practices. She aims at a mark on the cellar wall. She squeezes. The gun clicks empty, no bullets to waste on practice, but she learns the weight of it, the feel of metal against her palm, the knowledge that she holds the power to take a life, even if only one life, even if only for a moment. Other fighters gather in the bunker. Sarah counts them, 37 people, mostly young, a few as old as 40. They are students, teachers, factory workers, shop clerks. They are people who should be living ordinary lives. Instead, they are preparing to die. David Landsberg briefs them on the plan. When the action begins, we hold these positions. Building 18, Building 7, the brushmaker's workshop. We let the Germans enter the ghetto. Then we attack from the rooftops, from the windows. We make them fight for every meter. We slow them down. We give the civilians time to hide. Someone asks, "How long can we hold?" David doesn't lie. Not long. We have limited ammunition, no reinforcements. The Polish Home Army promised weapons, but they haven't arrived, so we fight with what we have. Hours, maybe, days, if we're lucky, but long enough to matter, long enough to matter. Sarah turns the phrase over in her mind. Is dying in a gunfight better than dying in a gas chamber? Is choosing how you die a victory? She doesn't know, but she knows one thing. Miriam didn't get to choose. Daniel didn't get to choose. Maybe choosing is the only victory left. On the evening of April 17th, Sarah sits in the bunker and writes a letter. She writes to no one in particular, to whoever finds this after she's gone, to history, maybe, or to God, if God is still listening. She writes about her family, about Daniel's laugh, about her mother's hands, about her father's voice reading poetry. She writes about Miriam, who died on a truck to Treblinka because Sarah wasn't strong enough to save her. She writes about the choice she made to stay, to fight, to resist. She writes, "We know we will die. We have no illusions, but we will die as free people, with weapons in our hands, not as cattle led to slaughter. Let the world know. Jews fought back. We did not go quietly." She folds the letter and hides it in a crack in the cellar wall. Maybe someone will find it, maybe not. It doesn't matter. She needed to write it, needed to make her choice real, with words on paper. That night, the fighters sleep in the bunker. Sarah lies on a thin blanket on the concrete floor. Around her, others are sleeping or pretending to sleep. She hears someone crying softly in the darkness. She hears someone praying. She hears the whispered conversation of two young men trying to be brave. Sarah closes her eyes. She thinks about the morning she woke to gunfire, the morning she went to buy bread, the morning she made choices that led her here. She wonders, if she had chosen differently, would Miriam still be alive? Would Daniel? The answer is no. The choices didn't matter. The end was always the same. But maybe Rachel is right. Maybe defiance matters. Maybe fighting back matters. Not because it changes the outcome, but because it changes who you are when you face the outcome. Sarah opens her eyes. Through a crack in the ceiling, she can see a single star, the same stars she saw that night, leaving the meeting. Indifferent stars, stars that shine whether humans live or die, but they're still beautiful. Even now, even here. She watches the star until she falls asleep. April 19th, 1943, 5:15 in the morning. The ghetto is silent. Then the silence breaks. Sarah wakes to the sound of trucks, dozens of them. Hundreds of German soldiers pouring into the ghetto. The final action has begun. Sarah is in the bunker on Miwa Street with 36 others. They've been waiting for 3 days, waiting for this moment. Now it's here. Rachel hands out weapons, pistols, rifles, grenades, the precious few weapons. Not enough, never enough. Positions, Rachel says. Her voice is steady. Let them come in. Wait for my signal. The fighters move to their posts. Sarah climbs to the third floor of Building 18. She takes position at a window. Below, German soldiers are marching into the ghetto, hundreds of them, thousands. Sarah's hands shake as she grips her pistol. This is it. This is the end. But she chose this end. That matters. It has to matter. Rachel gives the signal. A bottle flies from a rooftop, a Molotov cocktail, trailing fire. It explodes in the street. German soldiers scatter. Then the shooting begins. Pistols crack, rifles bark. Grenades thunder. The sound is deafening. The sound is beautiful. Sarah aims her pistol at the street below. She squeezes the trigger. The gun kicks in her hand. She doesn't know if she hit anything. She doesn't care. She fires again, again, again. Each shot is a word she couldn't speak. Each shot is a name. Daniel, Miriam, mother, father. Each shot is a refusal to die quietly. The battle lasts longer than anyone expected. Hours. The Germans retreat, regroup, attack again. The fighters move from building to building. They use every bullet, every grenade. They fight until they can't fight anymore. Then they hide. Then they fight again. Sarah survives the first day. And the second, and the third. The Warsaw Ghetto Uprising lasts 27 days. 27 days of resistance against the most powerful army in Europe. 27 days of Jews fighting back with handmade weapons and impossible courage. Sarah doesn't survive all 27 days. She dies on May 4th in the burning ruins of a bunker on Miła Street. She dies with Rachel beside her. She dies with a gun in her hands. She chose this. She fought. She mattered. 50 years after the war, a historian will find Sarah's letter hidden in the cellar wall. It will be added to the archives of the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. People will read her words. They will know her name. They will know she fought. The Warsaw Ghetto Uprising didn't save the Jews trapped in the ghetto, but it saved something else. It saved the truth about who they were, not victims going quietly to death, but people who chose even when the choices were impossible, people who fought even when they knew they would lose. People like Sarah Landau, 32 years old, French literature student, daughter, niece, sister, fighter, witness, one of 60,000 who refused to go quietly into the night. This was her day. This was her choice. This was her life.